So like she said that one day she was pooping and she's like just graduated from high school or some shit, and she said she was pooping and she like farted and then her uterus came out of her, I guess whatever. I don't know if the front or the back, but she said her uterus came out and they had to go to the doctor so they could put it back in. And now she has to have surgery. I'm sorry, I know this is a lot. This is a wild.
Yo, how hard you? Okay.
Into a podcast. All right, hold on. Let me do the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ayoo Chill podcast. Y'all already know the business, New Jersey's podcast. We out here in Boonton. Today, y'all already know, I got a special guest for you. My friend, please take a couple seconds, minutes, let the people know who you are and where you're from.
My name is Dan C. I'm from originally Wayne, New Jersey. I currently reside in Caldwell with my wife and son. Yeah, that's as simple as that gets.
Dude, shout out Wayne, shout out Caldwell. Shout out Caldwell because I actually get my haircuts in Caldwell.
Where?
City Image.
Oh, so like right in that little shopping center.
Yeah.
Dude, I get my haircut right across the street at Sports Clips.
Oh, word?
It's literally like you go across the street and it's like perpendicular to the shop. Like I see it from the window.
I'm not gonna hold you. I've never been a big person to go to like any type of barber or anything. Like I honestly from 8th grade to like probably the end of college, dude, I was cutting my own hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you do that now? Like you cut your own hair?
Well, the thing is that like I've gotten to a point in my life where I was like, damn, like I'm doing okay.
Yeah. I'll get by.
Mainly the first thing was to like save a lot of money and stuff, but I'm doing all right now, and like I could justify getting like a $40 haircut or something. So I got my boy out in City Image. His name is Edwin. Shout out Edwin, bro. You the best, man. He takes care of me well. Except right now my hair is crazy. He's probably looking at me like, bro, you've been need to come in, and I'm just like, yo, I'm chilling, dog, because it's been hard lately. I mean, like it's good for most part.
When I'm lacking, especially like with haircuts, I go in right, and I don't know if you feel this too, but if I know that I haven't been in when I'm supposed to, say like like every 2 weeks, I try to touch up or whatever, like 3-4 weeks, like a month, maybe stretching that a little bit.
Yeah.
I go in knowing they're gonna say something to me. They're like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a while. I can tell." Like I'm always afraid they're gonna say that.
Dude, like I mean, if worse comes to worse, like I could really cut my own hair. I feel like, yo, if you need a haircut too, bro, let me know. I'll do it. I used to actually cut my friend's hair for money too.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I used to like charge them like $10-$20, something like that. Just to fill
honestly
the
a
tank.
steal, dude. It's so expensive now.
It is crazy expensive. I'm not gonna hold you. Like haircuts is like wild.
Yeah. Plus, you like want to tip your barber too at the same time a little bit. So at the end of the day,
Sorry, just give me the side eye. To
yeah.
my barber now. But let's get into it, bro. I know we talked about right in the beginning. Besides talking about having to poop and pooping out your uterus.
Important
conversations. Tell me about how you got. How do I actually want to start this? Tell me about how you got into music, because I think this is what's mainly going to revolve around everything, because we're both musicians. We met in college. It's kind of like the little backstory. So start me off wherever.
Yeah, my earliest memory involving music, I grew up pretty religious. My family was pretty hardcore Christian, more contemporary, more modern.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever heard like 99.1 in the area, it's like a Christian rock station.
Yeah.
I grew up listening to a lot of that, right? Like just kind of like that family friendly. Like my mom wanted to kind of like make sure that we were all, listening to appropriate stuff, and just by like proxy was listening to a lot of that stuff. We'd go to church on Sundays, and that's like, it was kind of church that like had a band. It wasn't like a Catholic church, like where it's like an organist, you know what I mean? Like they had like guitars and basses and drums and stuff like that.
That's pretty sick.
So like indirectly, that kind of was like that first moment of like, yo, it's kind of sick. And the first thing I actually got into was drums. And like the church had this like sick drum set. I'm like, yo, that guy's like cooking, he's like going hard. Like this is like sick. And I was like super entranced by it. And, kind of as I grew up, I showed a lot of interest. I was listening to a lot of music on the radio, and just kind of like, I think my parents saw that I was kind of like into it and had like a knack for it. And, like every mom tries to do, they try to distract you. So my mom, she was like, she one day took out like a bunch of pots and pans for me. And she was like, she just handed me 2 sticks, like a spoon or whatever. She's like, do what you will.
That's
and
sick.
she didn't even tell me what to do. I just like was like, well, boom, I was like, oh, and eventually like a 3-year-old kid, I'm just like banging on pots and pans. So they saw that, and they were like, we got to get this kid like a little like crappy drum set or something. Got into that. They saw that, that was banging on it every day. Like I was super obsessed, and they were like, I mean, if he's super obsessed, why not get him something a little better? So that like a year or two later, they got me like a regular size kit, just nothing expensive, but just like enough for me to like go down and annoy the whole house for a couple hours every day, because it's loud, so loud. And I was playing so much to the point where my parents had to like set time limits for me. You know what I mean? Like I had to stop by 8 p.m., that kind of deal. In the summer, I got 9 p.m., which was kind of sick, but
yeah, of course. Yeah, 1 hour, yeah.
yeah. So that kind of like started the ball, and then I was playing before like I got to like the point where you can play in elementary school. So like I was playing drums like pretty regularly, like just doing whatever, and then I got into school. 4th grade, I think, is when they started in my elementary school. I was like, yo, percussion, obviously. And this is where it kind of went south. When I signed up for it, like, how like percussionists, like as we know it now, like they do everything. They play the drums, they play like all the mallet instruments, they do all that kind of stuff. I didn't know that was a thing. So like when I signed up and I got handed this like soft case with like a little like a set of bells, I was like, the hell is this? I don't want this. And in the end, I'm kind of glad I figured that out too, because it's a cool instrument, like mallet percussion. But from there, it kind of just blossomed. I did percussion pretty much all through elementary school and middle school, and then in 8th grade, I just like I looked at a tuba one day, bro. I'm not even lying. Like I was like in band class.
That's crazy.
And I looked at a tuba on the wall, and like no one that age plays tuba.
I feel like I did the same thing. Like I also looked at a tuba, but please continue with yours. I'll tell you mine in a second.
Like I just like was sitting there like playing percussion or whatever, and I just like saw this tuba, and I was just like, yo, what is that? Like why is it so big? What kind of sound does it make? And like I've heard music up that point, but I've never seen someone play a tuba, bro. Like tuba's a tuba. Like it's indescribable. So my teacher, I guess, like through me being curious, just took that as like, you're gonna play tuba now, like no choice.
Yeah,
because
you probably needed it. Not too many people playing tuba.
Yeah, you have to really want to do it to play tuba, and I did want to do it because I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And like
tuba's a badass instrument though. Like I think people sleep on tuba, and I think it's the same thing that came into my mind, because I remember I was playing trumpet in like seventh grade or something like that, and I had told my band teacher, I was like, yo, I feel like my lips are too big for the mouthpiece, dude. Which is like, yeah. So I was like, there's no way. I was like, what else can I play? And he's like, tuba. And I literally looked at him and I was like, yo, tuba is for fucking nerds, bro. I literally told him. I was like, why would I play that? Why would I put myself in distress like that for the rest of my life? No offense to you.
Yeah. Dude,
but that was my mentality when I was in middle school.
Yeah, same.
So that's brave on you. But tuba is a badass instrument though.
It is. I've learned to love it.
Hell yeah,
I've learned to love it. And I did it for 1 year in 8th grade. I picked it up, and like that was the same thing for me. Like my dad played trumpet, so he had an old trumpet. And I tried it when I was young, and obviously like I got nothing. Like it sounded bad. I was like, I'm not for that, And the lips. As soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, bro, I got them thick lips.
Yeah,
so
dude.
It's funny because like he didn't even mention trombone or baritone. He was just like tuba. He just
dude. Because everybody wants trombone. Not too many people want baritone. I got lucky with the baritone. Yeah. Because when I told him tubas for nerds, he's like, "How about this?" And it looked like a mini tuba, and I was like, "That's kind of sick."
You're a killer youth player.
Thank you, dude. I don't know if
he played youth in college.
I don't know if I'm that killer anymore because I haven't practiced in ages. But I could probably pick it back up. I want to do tuba Christmas this year.
Dude,
we should do it together. We should do it together.
Let's go to the city.
Let's go.
Stand on the ice rink. Just blow some horn. 30-degree weather.
Don't they do a tuba Christmas over here in Jersey too?
I think they do one in Morristown.
Yeah, we should do it.
Yeah,
we should definitely.
I've never done that one. I've done the one in the city once.
Do you have a tuba?
I do.
I still have my youth.
I might be able to borrow one. Like if you want like a sousaphone kind of looking thing. Just like, put that on.
Sousaphone would be crazy. But you did so after 8th grade you.
So after 8th grade, I got into high school, and I was kind of like, all right, I did tuba, but like I kind of want to still do percussion. Like I had been hearing things about marching band and stuff like that was gonna happen. I was like, yo, it'd be kind of cool to do like the marching percussion and it's a whole new array of activities you could do. Like
I could
jazz
definitely
band.
see you marching percussion, dude.
Yeah. So I was like so stoked. What happened was 8th grade into freshman year, that was the summer that Gabe Batiz got hired at Wayne Valley, who you know.
Yes.
And so because of that, he didn't come to us. Like he didn't come to my middle school like a band director would to be like, hey, marching band, it's great, you know. He didn't show, so I didn't really know. Like I wasn't gonna like do something I didn't know about, so I didn't do it freshman year. But then what happened was, like halfway through the year, like we had built a relationship. Like I started to trust him. He's a great teacher.
Yeah, shout out Gabe Batiz.
Shout out Gabe Batiz. He's still there. He's over 10 years now. It's kind of crazy to think about. But he came up to me one day, and the first thing he said to me was like, "Yeah, you're doing a good job. So you're gonna join marching band, right?" Like one sentence run on, like no like conversation. He just like, things are going well, and you're gonna join marching band, right? So I got that for like 4 weeks until I was like, I just answered him yes, so he would stop. And then a week later, I'm thinking, all right, yeah, I'm gonna do marching band. I'm gonna go for percussion. I'm gonna audition because it's a little competitive. Like there's definitely mad people there. And then like a week after I say yes, he comes up to me. He's like, "Were you gonna tell me you played tuba?" I'm like, "What?" I was like totally off guard. And he's like, "Listen, drumline is super competitive. I honestly don't think you're gonna make it." He said that. He said that to me.
You can't say that. You can't say that. But I mean, you can't say
listen.
that.
He has said worse and has gotten away with it. No, Gabe he truly is a prophet in a lot of ways. And he always told me, he's like, just wait till you're graduated. Like you'll come back and tell me like I'm right.
Yeah.
And he was right in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Nah, I believe
Maybe
it.
not the
I
most
believe it.
straightforward and correct way to do it.
But also, there's no way that like there wasn't like a 20% in him where he's like, we need a tuba.
So
every band needs a tuba.
Yeah.
No one. We have enough percussionists.
Yeah. So what happened was, he really wanted another tuba. He had one tuba pretty much his whole time there. Like he's like, yo, I want to grow. I want to have 2 tubas. Like that was his goal. Like if he could not like sleep at night unless he had 2 tubas. Like that's how he made it seem to me. And so I get on, and like my good friend Ron, who is playing the second tuba, like he had been the only tuba last year. So when I joined, I was like, yo, what's up? We're gonna be tuba buddies. We get to band camp. Turns out he doesn't show up for like 5 out of the 6 days. He's doing some like, I don't know, Boy Scout stuff. So it's just me. And I'm still thinking like, yo, my boy Ron's gonna come through. Like he's gonna be here like Saturday. He came, right? And then we got out of band camp. And now this is like Camp Canadensis, right? So we were like getting the whole experience. We come back, and then we go to our first like after camp rehearsal, like right before school starts. And I go in, I'm like getting my tuba out, and Gabe goes, "Go get the silver tuba." I'm like, what do you mean? That's Ron's tuba, because we only have one. And I'm like, that's Ron's. He's like, Ron quit.
Damn. So it's on you now.
So it was on me, this new kid, like trying to go for percussion, now on tuba. I'm like, okay, I guess I have to like not be terrible. And so that, honestly, that kind of was the motivation for me at that point, because like I hadn't played over the summer. Like this was like high school music, right? Middle school music, it's like Deck the Halls and like, random tunes that everyone knows. But like high school, like that's when it gets serious. So I was like, crap. So that kind of inadvertently spawned my appreciation for tuba. Like after that season, I was like, this is kind of cool. But then I got to senior year, and then I was like, I really want to march percussion. And Gabe, even at that point, was still kind of like, hey bro, come on, like just do tuba. But I threw a fit. Like I remember just getting so mad. I was like, I want to march percussion. And ultimately that did happen. And then come college, when I'm like trying to figure out what I want to do, I'm like, it's got to be music, 100%. What am I going to do?
Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
Before we get to college, because I'm not sure if this happened in college, but I know this is definitely something that I wanted to know more about you and your experience in it.
Yeah.
Hawthorne Caballeros.
Yes.
Where is this in the timeline? Is this before college? Is this like during senior year? When is this?
So shout out Hawthorne Caballeros.
Shout out them. I never knew you like that, but like you've been a staple in my life for some reason, for sure. Because my band director marched Hawthorne Caballeros.
A lot of people.
And he has a huge tattoo on his calf, of the bull, I think. Or like, I don't know.
It's a bull. Probably a bull.
Probably
it's either a sombrero or a bull. Could be a rotary phone, depending on what section he
and like,
marched.
I just remember him talk about the Hawthorne Caballeros and me like watching all the YouTube reruns and stuff and like just being really into it. And then when I saw you, because my first memory of you in college that I could remember, and I'll never forget it, I could remember you outside the Shea like auditorium, and it wasn't it wasn't the front where you go down the stairs and in.
In the back, or
And it wasn't in the back.
the side.
It was kind of like, do you know where the band room door was?
Yeah.
Like, okay. And
Oh,
then
out
like,
there.
Yeah, out, but not there, but like at the closest part where there's brick there. Like, I don't know if it's kind of hard to explain, but that intersection that you could see from the band room door that's almost leading to the other buildings.
Kinda. I kind of know.
Yeah.
So you go out the band door?
Yeah. For sake of conversation, it's like right there.
All right, in that area.
But I remember you standing with your tuba, and there was a metronome going on, and you were just like reading. Like, I don't know if you were practicing steps in your head. No, you were practicing marching for sure, because I remember it being like da da da, and you stepped out, and then you stepped back in, and then you stepped to the side, and and you're doing it from memory. And I was like, yo, this kid's on. I was like, at first I thought we had a marching band, so it got me kind of excited. I was like, damn. I was like, I'm gonna join the Willie P marching band. But then like they were like, oh no, it's like because it's a DCA.
Yeah. There's two main circuits.
Drum Corps.
There's Drum Corps International, which is basically I attribute that to the NFL essentially, and then there's DCA, which is basically college football, maybe even like a level low. You know, it's that sort of relationship.
But yeah, I remember that. I remember that being like my first memory of like seeing you like do your thing and me with the tuba, and I was just like, damn, I was like, this guy's going in. He's trying to make it. Because I had a lot of friends who wanted to get into other things. Like I had friends who were auditioning for Phantom Regiment. I had friends who were what's the green ones with the hats and stuff?
You have Madison Scouts.
Yes, my friend went out for the Madison Scouts. Friends going for Phantom Regiment. Blue Coats. I had friends going out for Blue Coats. I had friends. Wow, this is really bringing back memories right now.
That's a whole can of worms.
Blue Coats is the one who did Creep, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I can't remember what year. There's so many. Here's the thing. Drum Corps has been around such a long time, and there's been so many different corps and DCI, World, Open, all these so many corps and so many shows. Like they start to blend. Like I have like shows that I really really care about, but like people like throw shows at me. I'm like, bro, I have no idea what year you're talking. Like it's just so much. But it's funny you say that because Hawthorne Caballeros was something that like I wanted to do because I loved marching band. Like I loved the concept of it. It was performing on like a grander scale. Like there's more to lose in a marching band. So I guess it's kind of like high stakes performance. Like you can go out by yourself and play guitar, right? And like it's on you, right? But then you go out with like 50 other kids, they have to be on it too. So like the mentality is like individual, but like you're the individual to the group and you're just as important. Like it's like when you're out on the field, like you have to make sure like your boy all the way across the field is putting in as much work so it all comes together. Because like if you're going hard but your homies aren't, like it's not going to look good to the audience. So there's a lot at stake. And being with like-minded individuals in high school helped. But when you go to like a corps like the Hawthorne Caballeros, where it is professional and it is more high octane, everyone there is like-minded. Everyone wants to be good. Everyone's going to put in the work because like it's a drum bugle corps. You know what I mean? Like when I joined, we were at our 70th anniversary.
That's wild.
So we did like an anniversary show, and it was so intimidating. Because it's just I'm 18. Like to answer your question, I was right out of high school because like I was thinking about it in high school, but like it's a big commitment. It's like every weekend.
It's a huge commitment.
Like you have basically a weekend every month from like November, and then you go into that next year, and you're kind of like once or twice a month, and then once you hit like April, it's every weekend until Labor Day. So all through the summers, your weekends are chalked, right? Saturdays 12 hours, Sundays 8 hours. But during that time, you're learning the drill, you're learning the show, learning the music, learning how to march, learning how to not look ridiculous, essentially, because it's very easy to look ridiculous.
And it's a next level up from anything high school wise, right?
Oh, and even college in a lot of ways, because there's no sheet music, you have nothing in front of you. It's a full 10-minute show, and it's not basic music, you know, like it's meant to be challenging and entertaining, and there's so many moving pieces and so many people that have to come in and come together to make it all work, which is just so exhilarating in a way. Like, and when you're a part of that, I didn't truly understand it at the time, I think, how grand a scale it was, because I think I was just so caught up in being 18 and doing something crazy and worrying about, all the worries that an 18-year-old has. I don't think I fully like understood what I was doing and like what it meant. But yeah, I did at 18 years old, I auditioned, and that's where I met
Yeah.
Giovanni Vega for the first time. Shout out Giovanni.
Shout out Gio.
Before even Willie P, that's where I met him and connected with him, because he had marched 2015, the year before I joined. And when I got there, he was like one of the first people to like be kind to me and like be nice to me and make me feel like welcome. You know, like you go somewhere, you're always kind of like, I'm obviously new. Everyone's talking to each other, like they've known each other for years, and you're just like some 18-year-old kid. And he was just like super, super awesome. And we were friends ever since. And then did that for that year, and I went back the next year. But at that point, like that, I'm fully into college. It's basically classes all week, and then your weekends are gone. To me, that just equals not compatible for me, because
Yeah, like
it's so
that's
much time.
Yeah.
And I was working at Best Buy part-time, like 28 hours a week during the week, like not even on the weekends. And they were like going through hoops to make that happen, because like retail, they want you to work weekends. So like I was not stopping, and I didn't stop for like 4 years, but I wouldn't trade that experience for the world. There's nothing like it. It's hard to explain to people on the outside. Like you have familiarity, so it's, you understand because you did marching band.
I remember when I did do marching band, like I was so torn because I wanted to join like a DCA. I knew DCI was gonna be like too much for me. Not only that, but monetarily wise, like DCI was just not in
So
the budget.
expensive.
But DCA was definitely something that was more doable. But I remember when I stepped off that field for the last time, and like I felt like in my heart it was almost like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I was like, this might be the last time. Like
You look back,
so-
your numbers being raised.
yeah. But I don't know, because I feel like people don't understand, like truly people don't understand how difficult marching band is. Like high school's one thing, and like if your high school's like all right, whatever, but even though, like I still give props to anybody, because you have to memorize the music. You have to have good like not only just good intonation and good skill as a musician, but also be fit enough to also learn how to roll step. I'll never forget that in marching band, I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know if he wants his name out there like that, but we used to have this drill instructor who would always he would look like a cat, because he'd be like, all right guys, so these are your feet, and he's like, what you want to do is go like this, and he's like, you're marching heel toe, and then left, and then you want to make sure you're here. And he would just explain like that. And I just remember going through that. And dude, even band camp was like excruciating, bro. Like 12-hour days, just in the hot sun, and standing at set. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Standing at set, or like
Yep.
going up like that, dude. It's like the worst. And your arms. I can't imagine even for you marching tuba, bro. Your shoulders must have been dying.
Yeah. High school wasn't even that bad, because like I had it easy. Like my tuba was it was like a 3/4 size, so it wasn't like a full size, and it was like on a like it was like, all right. I got the cabs. They had the heaviest horns in DCA. Like if like you looked at everyone's like tubas throughout like the circuit or whatever, we were marching Jupiter Quantums, and there's something like almost like 25, 30 pounds. Damn. And they're not like sousaphones. Like those who out there who've like maybe gone to college and like maybe gone to like Michigan or like so those college marching bands, they have sousaphones because they're smart. They're not idiots. DCA, we hate ourselves, so specifically tubas. So like it's just like a sound thing and a look thing. That's just how it's been, kind of traditional wise. But I will say, the 3 weeks that it really fucking sucked made it so worth it after, because like it got to a point where it was just, you got so like all right, I don't have like ripped arms, right, but like I definitely got jacked, like under the skin. Like by the end of the season, like it was like no issue, because you're doing it every weekend. Like you're just like not even thinking about it, but like all the marching that you're doing, the stuff you're learning, it's just like passive workout. Like you are working out 12 hours a day. Like you are lifting literally 12 hours a day. So it was kind of insane.
So where would you guys perform?
We perform mostly along the East Coast, basically as far as Connecticut, and maybe even, depending on the year, New York, like upstate. There have been times where we've gone like more south to like South PA and stuff. Like the circuit is mainly East Coast for DCA. DCI is international. It's international, but it's mostly the United States, a couple cores in England. So yeah, like Kingston, New York, or like Allentown, PA, or even like locally, they've done shows in Clifton.
And are these for like football games, or are they for like?
No, it's its own thing. You know, like people, it's been around such a long time and so niche. Like they just hold shows, of course. It's just like a marching band show. You know what I mean? Like everyone shows up, everyone's trying to put on their best show and get scored. They're trying to win their division or whatever they're trying to do. And it's like, you know, basically like seeding. You know, every competition you get this score, that adds up at the end of the season and you get seeded for your final performance. So the better seed you have and the better you do at the beginning of the season, better chance you have on staying on top at the end of the season. If you're really just that good and can make up, you say you start in fourth and you've just been getting so good and you're able to kind of flip it. It's hard to do because of just how insane it is to march and clean stuff. But it's all score based, it's all competitive. And within competition is the show. Like that's what the spectators care about is the show. But I mean, there are a lot of hardcore drum corps fans. Like there's like a forum for all this stuff where people just go rabid about every little thing, and it's insane because you're in a corps, right? Like you think a high school drama, but you're in a corps and you go on this forum and you just watch what all these people are saying about your corps and like what you're doing. And people are fugazi sometimes. They just have the craziest takes, and like any social media forum, like fights break out. In threads,
dude,
you know,
musicians are actually the worst. Like,
no, they are, dude. Dude, the opinions are absolutely flammable.
Yeah, like my worst, like I think my worst experiences in the music industry had to be like when I was playing classical music, like in like bands, like you know, like classical music, like orchestras or partially marching band. But marching band was more like it wasn't bad memories, more just like I realized that there are a lot of like shitty people. But that was mostly high school. But even at the collegiate level, I just think the music, the classical music scene or any music scene that gets like really competitive over like how well you play music, I feel like they're a little bit
toxic,
back in time. They're not up with the vibes, you know?
Yeah. There's definitely merit to that. Like the big thing in drum corps right now that people are always like I say chirping because it really is like people will go on social media and just like yell to the void, and I'm like, okay, bro. You know, some people might get like, oh, he's saying stuff that I don't agree with, and like go for it. But like a lot of the times, it's really like drum corps as it is not healthy. And what I mean by that is that it's an art that is, again, niche. Like musicians know about it, but there's a lot of musicians that don't. You know what I mean? There's a lot of musicians that don't know about drum corps because maybe they're not from that area, or they just never, like, how often are you going to just like see a drum corps, right? Like it's not like, hey, what are you doing Friday night? Oh,
no, it's true.
Right?
This is the first time I've talked about drum corps in probably like
forever,
5 years, 6 years,
forever. So like the activity is really trying to progress and become, you know, not die, you know, essentially not die, right?
Yeah.
And trying not to be stale. And there's a lot of progress in the activity as far as like, you know, what you can do. There's, you know, whole rule sets, just like any sport where you can't do certain things, you can do certain things. There's limitations. And a lot of the limitations nowadays, you know, a lot of old uniform restrictions and like what kind of music you can play and what instrumentation you can use, that's going away. And these corps are running with it. Like they're doing all these cool uniforms and stuff you normally wouldn't see from a drum corps. And it's so cool. And you just have all the old heads, you know, that's what drum corps is right now. But between those lines, it's a bunch of amazingly dedicated people that really just want to be as excellent as you can, because it's you cannot be in a drum corps without wanting to strive for excellence, because if that mentality is not there, you suck. It's simple as that. You know, music, someone said this to me, I don't know if it was a professor, but like the pursuit of music, anything you do, and specifically music, it has to be 100%. And can anyone really achieve 100%? Not really. But if you can get as close as possible, and like you said, 100% is like, you know, the best musicians in the world playing the best symphony orchestra, not a note out of place. It's like given from God, that kind of performance. Like all musicians to be striving to get relative to that. It's impossible because no one's perfect, but that's the mentality of drum corps, and that's kind of what you see over a season, where you start imperfect and you just work and and it gets cleaner and it gets crazier and you add more stuff because, you know, it's worth it and it makes it more exciting. But times that by like 120 members. Each individual person has to also get better and progress with the group.
That's very true. That's very true.
Hard
because I feel like a lot of people don't understand, and you know what you said is something I also learned, like in the classical world, where it's like, you know, you just said 120 members, right?
Yeah.
If everybody
Maybe
makes
more.
yeah, if well we'll just say 120, right?
Yeah.
Everybody makes one mistake, that's 120 mistakes. Odds are you're probably making two or three on the higher end. What you got right there? 360 mistakes right there.
Exactly.
You know, that's wild. And so like you would think, oh, they're messing up 360 times, you know, but that's the way you think about it. You know, that's very
Exactly.
it's very crazy.
And when it goes well, and when people are bought in, and like you realize like what you're doing is also being like your neighbor and like the person you didn't know before that season who you've grown close with is putting their all, and that drives me and whoever's in my position down the line to be better. And that's something that that's the part of drum corps that stuck with me, was just the what that can do for like yourself by just simply trying to be the best you can be.
Yes.
For not only yourself, but like for your brother, for the person next to you, because it's their show too, right? If I have a bad show, like it's going to affect the rest of the show, because everyone's gonna be looking at the whole field and they're gonna see some idiot not, on his shit, and it's gonna take away from the performance, and it's so intricate and so fragile, but it's just so worth it. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy. So I took that and I ran with it kind of post drum corps. I did close that door, just because it is such a big commitment.
So
And,
real quick, before
yeah.
we move on to our next topic or next part of this timeline that we got going, what was your favorite memory from drum corps?
I think my favorite memory was just like pretty much all of the jokes that we came up with during the season. There's a thing called in drum corps called what is the correct term? Basically, it's words that we put in place of counts, to kind of just make it more interesting. Like it's just like us being silly, because when a performance is going on, you can't hear people like whispering and counting, like stuff's going on, drums are playing. So when you're bored, and you just come up with things to say, and I think that's like my favorite memory of just coming up with dumb crap to say during counts, and just like you build such great friendships through the drum corps. Like there's people that like when I go back and visit, because my wife is a part of the staff there now. Like I'll go back and see people I marched with that come back every so often
to the cabs,
and you just like, yeah, you look at that person, you're like, yo, what's up? Like
that's pretty sick.
It's
dude.
pretty sick. It's pretty sick.
And how old can you be marching? Like
you can be any age. So DCA is all considered all age. You can be a teenage, you can be underage and march. You can be 70 in March if your body can handle it. Doesn't really matter. There are alumni groups and stuff like of older people who just like can't do that kind of schedule. It's a little more lax, but DCI, the NFL version, they're very specific because they have an age cap. Like you cannot march past the age of 21. So like you can be 15 or 16 with parental consent, 17, but once you're 21 you can march. It's after like a certain cutoff, and then you're no longer eligible, which I think is insane.
Yeah,
like think about that. And you know what, like I called it the NFL of drum corps. Like these are legit teenagers and young adults.
Yeah,
like if you've never seen drum corps, like go watch a show. Like those are kids. Like it's not like some like 30-year-old, 40-year-old like industry veteran. Like those are high school kids from all over the country, like absolutely wild musicians.
But putting on some world class shows. Like there are some shows that I've watched, like some of my favorite ones, and I mean this is literally just like all the like classic ones. I think Phantom Regiment, when they did. Oh my God, why did it just slip my mind? Phantom Regiment did this one show, bro, and I'll never forget it. And what's Phantom Regiment's most famous show? It's literally on the top of my head.
I'm looking like a real poser right now. I don't know.
Bro, it's killing me. Spartacus.
What year was that?
I don't know.
Do you know what year
Maybe
that was?
2011. I don't know. Maybe somewhere around there.
I don't think I was super into drum corps that.
Spartacus was like my favorite one, because in that, if you go to the YouTube video and you watch it, like they have this one part, because it's all like a story, right? It's like part 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, right? Yep. So and then they have this part where like he's finally like, no, I am Spartacus, and they're like, I am Spartacus, and the whole band is like, I am Spartacus, and one of the color guard comes and like stabs the drum major.
I think I
falls down,
remember now.
And then the new drum major comes on top, and then he starts like that part got me crazy. Blue Coats, when they did the cover of Creep. I think there's a part. You told me where were the green ones?
Madison Scouts.
Madison Scouts had a show where they're what are the drums they had before, the quads,
The
right?
quads, yeah.
Quads. They had the quads upside down for a show once. So I remember they were like the
That
first
might be the Cavaliers, actually.
Cavaliers. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Cavaliers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
I remember like the Cavaliers were one of the first ones to actually have like quads that were just upside down. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, if you want to see a cool Cavaliers show, and like probably one of my favorite shows, it's Cavaliers Frameworks 2002. That show is wild, not only because of the music, but the way they mark that show's drill is actually like, I don't know how they did it. It is so clean.
We didn't even talk about drill. That's crazy.
Yeah. Drill is just all the movement coordination, but like if cold open, just go watch that show. I don't care if you don't know drum corps, like just watch 2002 Cavaliers Frameworks. I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't even need to explain further.
Because these shows, like, you don't even have to be really into marching band to like watch it, but just appreciate how much artistry and hard work it goes into. Because there's one thing like looking at like because what a lot of people think about like the best marching band in the world, they're probably thinking like Ohio State University,
Right.
Which is like, don't
Fair
get me
enough.
wrong, they do great stuff. They're very talented,
Great players,
obviously,
yeah.
but like their drill, their like most popular drill, like it's not hard comparative to DCI or even DCA,
Right.
because like there's so many of them and all they have to do is like move a little bit and move coordinatedly, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, where you have like a balanced amount of people on the field and y'all are sprinting sometimes while playing as well, especially in DCI.
Yeah.
Some crazy shit.
That and like people are doing things at different times, but like the time's all the same. Like it's still the music's happening, 4/4 time, like it's going on. People are moving at different times. Things are flying into the air. This side, it's insane. And not to mention, to give credit to like bands like Ohio State and like Michigan stuff, they're learning a show usually like every week.
Yes, which is that is.
I'll give them crazy props there.
Hell yeah,
because
bro.
like that's wild.
I can't imagine doing that. I remember I really wanted to march for Rutgers.
Oh
And
yeah,
they had
Scarlet Knights, baby.
They had like let me go to one of their interest meetings and stuff, and they brought me onto the football field and everything. I got to march with them. I got to go experience their whole thing, and I love the camaraderie too, because you know what, I think a big thing you kind of like touched on before was like just being there and like really having that family aspect. It's like a big thing. You said brothers, sisters, you know what I mean? That's how you really like felt. If you were part of a good marching band or whatever, that's really how you felt. And I remember they had their things that made them bond together. When I was at Rutgers, they would sing old I forget how it went, but it was like, on the banks of the old Raritan, on the banks of the old Raritan, my friend, dun, 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 dun.
Really?
Something like that. Yeah, but it was like, because the Raritan River runs like right over there. Like,
Oh, so it's probably like a band song.
Yeah, so it's like a band song and stuff. And like I remember like everybody singing it and harmonizing, and I was like, damn, this is lit.
Kind of lit. Yeah.
And it's and the singing too, like getting to know the sing part. Ugh, dude, we could go about this all day.
I know.
I want to. Maybe
we'll put a cap on that.
We'll put a cap on that. We'll put a cap on that because we really did move on. We'll move on to getting into college because that's where we left off.
Yeah.
We got into this whole thing about marching band. If you want to hear about more marching band stories or anything, please let me know, because I'll have a whole like episode dedicated to just talking about marching band. I'll have a couple marching band people on, so let me know in the comments down below if y'all with that or not. But let's move on a little bit to college. All right, so you went to college for what? Math?
I went. Yeah, dude. I was the best mathematician in the class. I solved string theory. No big deal. At William Patterson, what I mean? Huge deal. No, I went to college for music education, which is hilarious to me now, but at the time was kind of like my only option. I was like really lost when I was 18. I am a people pleaser, and people pleasing involves everyone, including my parents. And at that time, like when you're that age, all that you hear is like, in your future, gotta make sure you say future, college, future. Like that push was so insane. Like they start talking about that to us like when we're like 5th grade, right? So like all the way through school, it's just like college. What do you do? And like it's funny because like every sitcom like says that. It's always like that thing you see, but like it's just a little more silent, I think, in like real life. Like everyone kind of like deals with that sort of crossover. Like some people are just totally cool. They get out of high school like, I'm not going to college, period. Like I totally respect that. Some people are in my boat where they're just like, I don't know, but I'm going to go to college because like that's what everyone wants me to do. And then there are people out there that want to go to college because they wanted something at 10 years old and they still want it and they're hungry. Perfectly fine. For me, what I wanted was music, which is way too broad. Like music production, music education, becoming an artist, and just like throwing caution to the wind. And me being a people pleaser just really kind of forced me to kind of go for music ed, because it was the only thing that I could kind of look at people and say, yeah, I'm doing this, and they give the response of, oh, that's great. Because like there was a moment, I think, when I was like thinking about college, where I was like talking to one of my aunts, and she's like, oh, what do you think you want to do? And I think at that point I was like, I really want to do something in music. Like I was just kind of like more like that. She's like, yeah, it's really tough,
Damn,
and
they always hit you with that shit.
they always hit you with that shit. And it's always out of love. Like it's never like, you suck, kid. Like I was always supported like by the people around me, but it's just like that natural reaction. Cause like the whole thing is just like how volatile having a music career is and how tough it is. And it's such a grind. So they just want the best for me, like it's totally valid. But like that to me was just like, yeah, like I guess I should do something that's, going to give me a job and like something stable, because that's what I'm supposed to do, right? And so I kind of deep down knew that wasn't the case. Like you kind of feel that like little twist in your stomach when like you're not really being true to yourself, and that's kind of what I was feeling. But I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna get a degree. I'm gonna teach. Like Mr. Batiz was a huge inspiration on me. Like I want to give that forward. Like I think like if I did do the teaching thing, I would be really good at it, right? So I get to college, and I really wasn't interested in going anywhere insane. Like I didn't really want to go away. I didn't really want to like travel too far. Like I was kind of comfortable here. So I was looking at a couple of schools, and it just happened to be that like Mr. Ortiz was kind of, he was trying to help me out, like, and kind of feel out like what programs were doing what and like what they needed. And William Patterson needed tuba players. So he was like, maybe you can get some money. And he connected me with Paul Scott, who I credit to pretty much everything that I've accomplished to this point, to him. And he is the tuba professor at William Patterson, and I had like a lesson with him before even applying to the college, because trying to figure out what schools I want to go to. And it was like super cool. Like I'd never met someone at that point in my life with like that taught tuba that was like as passionate as he was. Like his basement's littered with like a bunch of tubas he's collected over the years. Like he has all this like music that he talks about, and like just it really exposed me to like just on that first lesson, like the coolness of playing tuba. Like it's not just boom boom boom. Like you can be wild on tuba. And so that kind of got me, excited, and I kind of rode that into William Patterson. I was like, like I had a good lesson with this guy. Let me just go here, get my education. Apparently the education department's good. That's literally all I heard up until that point. So like, yeah, fuck it. So I get in, and that first semester. So for context, Mr. Batiz, my band director, is an alumnus of William Patterson. So he was a big proponent of going there because of Doc Davis, who we both know. May he rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Doc.
Yeah, rest in peace, Doc. That's crazy. But anyway, he was like, yeah, like he is great. Like he would be great for you. So I go, and I have a really good first semester with him. I don't know if we were the same semester, right? Fall 2016.
Yeah.
Like we had Doc at that time, and like it was like good. Like he had his stuff going on, and like his docisms and whatnot, but like it wasn't that bad. Like things were happening. We were doing brass choir. We remember you were doing all those classes. Like things we were doing it. Like maybe we were trying to like he would cancel. We like but like we were doing stuff, And then it kind of everything as started to happen, and he eventually was no longer there, and all of a sudden like I'm in this program that is just completely shattered. Like I'm literally going to school for not what I'm trying to do, because it's all shattered and nothing's happening. Like there's no groups. I'm having my lesson. That's it. Right. Like he's not here. Band's not happening. It's just all destroyed. Yeah. So I, at that point, kind of had a reality check with myself. I was like, this is like not it. You know what I mean? Like I was just like really disappointed in like the program. And, this was what? Like the next spring, it fell apart pretty quickly. And then I found Phi Mu Alpha. That was probably the one thing that got me through college, to be honest with you, and some of the other classes. Shout out to like couple of different professors who I remember. Professor Vishio was one of my favorite.
Vishio's amazing, dude. It's crazy that we're dropping all these names on the pod because it's like
I know
there's a lot of I feel like a lot of people like look at William Patterson like, you know, it's like a lower grade school or whatever. But I think, you know, I think the professors I had at William Patterson like really helped like change my life and like really set me up for like what I was going to do. And you know, like I can't say that about every professor there, but I could definitely say like the professors who did care, like they cared with their whole like mind, body, and soul, and like it really like if you asked questions, you would get answers. If you needed help, you would get it, but you would have to show up and like apply. You know?
Right.
So
100%, totally agree with that. And you know, those kind of professors made it worth it. But in ultimate terms, like I basically got cheated out of that kind of education, which is it's circumstantial. Like, how am I supposed to know? Like, 'cause everything happened, and it is what it is. But I think that really helped propel my eventual epiphany, which I think I already kind of had, which was that I wasn't there to be a teacher. Like, I was there to be safe, and I wasn't happy because of it. And it was a really tough time. Like, on top of that, like I had like a crazy girlfriend at the time that was making things difficult. You know, the stresses of making sure I stay above that 3.0 for that program, you know, because school was always a little tough for me just because I have ADHD, and that was always a struggle. But, you know, college was that sort of thing where I just tried to make the best of it. And it really did ultimately help me come to the realization that, you know, I don't want to be a teacher. I want to do music. And like once I graduated, I just figured, let me graduate, get the degree, just finish out at least, so I have a degree, and like it's not too late. You know, I'll get out and do my thing. But yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you. What did you say?
no, dude, no. I was just listening too because like at what year of college did the epiphany hit you?
I think it hit me. So I did 5 years, mainly because the amount of things they made me do as a music ed major, and you remember like how crazy the schedule was.
Hell yeah, bro.
So to put it in perspective, being a music major, you have to take like obviously your gen ed stuff, which is your usual 3-4 credits if you're lucky, and then the music classes, even though they may meet twice a week and still like pop off a lot,
or take like 12 credit hours.
Yeah.
You know,
they're all like 1 to 2 credits, 2 credits if you're lucky. And what that means is like if you're trying to be like at 18 credits full time, you're taking mad classes. And it was just like unbelievable because like I'm thinking like, yo, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna have some time. You know, like everyone goes to college and like they're like around for 3 hours during the day or around for 4 hours between classes. Like I'm gonna have 6 classes, that's it. Nah. It basically felt like high school, and I think I had like maybe like 1 or 2 classes on a Friday in the morning, and then I had my afternoon, and it was like that for like 4 years.
That was the only part of like music that was like the worst. I think my worst year of college was actually like my sophomore year.
Yeah,
because I had my epiphany at the end of freshman year, where I realized that like I'm not meant to be a music educator. I can see myself going back into it for sure because I want to teach once I get old. Once I retire,
Sure.
I would like to become a teacher. But yeah, I had my epiphany at the end of freshman year, and then by sophomore year, I was really like going into sound engineering instead.
Yep.
And that year, dude, I was still under the impression though that I was like, you know, I got my scholarship into the school for euphonium. Like I got here playing euphonium, like I don't want to give it up yet, you know. So I still was doing quintet.
Yeah.
I was still doing brass choir.
Yeah.
We had our sophomore proficiencies
Yeah.
that year as well.
That's right.
Then I was doing the sound engineering stuff where we had to be at the studio. Sometimes the late night sessions are like 8 to 12 or 8 to 1.
Yeah.
Those would be terrible, you know. And then not only you have to practice your solo music, your scales, your music for a concert band,
Yep.
right? Your music for your quintet, your music for brass choir, like, and they expect it all to be good because again, the thought process between classical musicians is that you can't make a mistake. You have to be as close to perfect as possible, but not because we're trying to be perfect, but just because we're trying to put on the best show.
Right.
And when you put it in terms like that, sometimes the environment could get very toxic very quick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because now it's not like, hey, like, you know, you didn't practice. Like, are you stressed? Do you need help?
Yeah.
It's more like, oh, you didn't practice. You don't care about your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
You don't care about the show, and like you just want us to be ass. And then that would, a lot of that times I would be like, damn, like when you put it that way, I guess I'm just gonna cry in the practice room. And
Yeah.
oh my god, I've cried. I've cried. I've never cried so much in my life. I think that in college, dude. Because like I was so stressed, I was so depressed. There was so much going on. My sophomore year, I also was going through a breakup. So
Yeah, bro.
sophomore year was crazy.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, college was just like a turmoil because
fever
same
dream.
over here. Like, I was dealing with a crazy girlfriend that I had to like break it off with, and it was super toxic for way too long. And you know, it's like, my bad. You learn, and like you said, the mentality at the time for what we were dealing with and all the things we were dealing with was just not correct. Like I understand what they were trying to do, which is trying to do that like underdog motivation, like feel ashamed and use that shame to like power yourself. But like in the end, whether it works or not, it's still not. It's toxic. If it doesn't work, then you have the repercussions of that. If you're someone who responds to that and turns it into the positive and like shows people up and has that kind of energy, great. But for the people who don't, it doesn't work, period. There's no like, oh, well, it's no, it doesn't work. And it alienates people. I remember sometimes during band, they're like kids would just get so frustrated because like there's no help. You know, the expectation, like you said, is to be perfect. And Paul, I love this guy. Paul, if you ever watch this, I love you, bro. You really came through for me. He said the craziest thing, which made so much sense. It's school. You're supposed to make your mistakes in school. You're supposed to be terrible in school. That's what it's for. like what is it for, right? You're not going to school to be perfect. Then why are you paying? If you're perfect, they should be paying you, right? So like as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, you're right. Like why am I getting so upset and why am I like breaking down in tears over this one passage I can't play? When I could just like take a step back and relax, maybe like go outside for 10 minutes and like not sweat it, come back, try it again. Like it's all mentality. And that old mentality that I think we came into, plus all the BS we had to deal with, like how they laid out the classes, plus all the extra stuff, it was just like too much. And then everything blew up.
Yeah.
And then everything blows up. Was that SpongeBob?
Yeah, and you know what? Big shouts to Paul Scott, because I never had him as a teacher, but he actually, like, I remember he was doing like brass, like I think just like an open brass lesson, and he invited us over his house and stuff.
Yeah.
And like we were all just there playing, and you know, like it's crazy. Maybe one day I'll go back to playing euphonium a little bit. I know, like at the beginning of last year, I picked it up a little bit again. I was like, hey, and like during COVID, there was nothing to do, so I picked it up again. And like, you know, I would really like to get back into it, but it's wild because I felt like the community that I was in and the circumstances that I was in for the music like really ruined its like appeal to me. 100%. Rather than like, you know, like I felt like I should have been playing it because I wanted to get better and have fun, but they always made me feel like, they is a lot of people, but you know, I was in situations where there was professors or there were people who made me feel like, you know, I'm not worth anything if I didn't practice enough, and like I'm not worth anything if I don't know how to play well. And I think the mentality rather should be like, hey, you should want to play better because you want to like put on a good show. Like I don't ever think like I played a good show and never felt great about it. I felt great about what I did because I was too worried about trying to be perfect. Right. Rather than living in that moment, enjoying the music and really feeling it, and enjoying the music so much that I myself want to be like, hey, like I love this music. I want to give the people who come see it, like even if it's one or two people, like whatever. Because that's how I feel about podcasting now. Like that's how I feel about everything I do now, where I'm just like, dude, like I don't care if it's just one person. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, if somebody listens to podcasts and there's just one person and they're like, oh, dude, I really enjoyed
You're
like,
going hard for that
sentence.
one person.
Hell yeah, I'm going hard as hell for that one person. Who cares? I'm having fun. Like, this is what I love to do. And it's crazy. I really hope one day, like, my love for euphonium comes back. Yeah. Because, like, it changed my life. It's the only reason, like, I am where I am today. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be anywhere without people like, you know, my band director, Mike DeLucia, freaking dad. Bob Farrell, who was my trombone teacher, who helped me get into college and everything, and Matt Paterno, obviously.
Yes. Yep.
Is he retired yet?
No. He's still kicking.
Dude, that sounds terrible. He's not that old.
He's not
I
that
love
old.
you, Matt. I love you, Matt Paterno. Matt Paterno's lit.
He's like kicking, bro.
He's still kicking. He's still there.
He's an old yeller.
Oh, dude.
He's not walking with a cane yet. He's
dude.
good.
Yeah,
he's got like 10 more years.
Dude, Matt. I love Matt Paterno. Yeah, those people like really like Matt Paterno was my Paul Scott in college and stuff. And I remember Matt Paterno like just being in lessons and stuff, and him telling me like, dude, like it's not that deep. Like, and I just, but I would be thinking it's that deep.
Yeah.
And he would, and like I remember him telling me, he's like, are you gonna continue playing like after college or like after we're done? And I was like, dude, probably not, because at that point I was traumatized.
Yeah,
I was really traumatized. And he's the one who told me about Tuba Christmas. So you should come to Tuba Christmas, and I've never gone. You know what? I'll go. We have to go. We have to.
I have my tuba. Like I'm good in my closet.
I'll go in my youth, because like that's wild. I'll learn some new things and stuff.
Yeah. Don't be surprised when you put that mouthpiece and you're like, blah, blah, blah,
oh,
like
dude,
because that's what happened to me recently. I had to play at a church for like Easter. I broke it out like a week before, just like practice it, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't think it was gonna be that bad.
You know what's the worst thing? Like, I think my embouchure is there. My embouchure is there, but it needs to be worked out again, anything. But my biggest problem when I picked it back up, where I was realizing I was putting too much pressure again. And it was like I was back in 8th grade, just like, don't put too much pressure on your fucking like mouthpiece and shit. So it's bad.
Dude,
it was bad.
Dude, so this is a story. Do you remember right? Obviously.
Oh, okay, well, hold up. We're gonna have to blank out that name, because when we talk about people, we'll besides professors, we're gonna
blank it out.
So
our friend, leave it out. Our friend, all good. Our friend used to play, and I remember all the time he would play either like youth or like F tuba.
Mm-hmm.
He'd come up with the ring around his face, and I was like, I wanted to ask him, but obviously it's not my business, because he was amazing. But like I was just like, are you just like shoving that thing there? Like it's a ring. Like it looks like a lot of pressure. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That could be like really, that hurts sometimes. Like you're like done playing, you're like, ow.
Yeah. It's tough. It's definitely tough, dude. And I shout out to anybody who's playing brass instruments right now, dude, because I feel like there's not as many. I don't know if there's as many people like going into classical music, but I think, and I will say this straight up. I will say it straight up to anybody who's an educator in the classical music space, anybody who is doing things like area band or New Jersey region band or anything that's competitive, where you have children trying to become musicians and trying to like make the world, like, you guys who are in charge of all of that need to make these children feel loved and in love with music, because some of y'all, dude, like y'all are just like on some other shit where you're making people feel terrible for playing music a little bit bad. Like, I just think like the culture needs to change in that, like, so much, because that's one of the biggest things that made me not want to be a teacher, was the fact that I was like, I have to work with some of these people like who are in charge, who are making children feel like shit, who are making people drop their instruments when you should be inspiring kids to pick those instruments up and dedicate their lives to music. Like, I have to work with those people, and the politics that come within being a teacher now, and all those like little cliques and things that they have, disgusting. Like, y'all should really be ashamed of yourselves. And it's something that I've never said like out like loud like this, but for real, because there were times where I played in some of these competitive bands, and like y'all literally, like, I would get up like another level, like from like playing, like I was playing in this one honors band or whatever, and I'll be like, hey, it's really tough, and the kids here are kind of like mean, but like, like these directors are probably just tough because like, it's whatever. And then I get another level, and then I was like, oh, these directors are really mean or whatever, but they're probably just trying to help me be the best. I never forget, man, I had this one director, man, and I won't put any names into it, but if anybody ever has questions, y'all gotta ask me off camera. But like, I'll never forget. Like, I was auditioning for like these state bands and all this stuff, and I was getting in, and it was great. And I'll never forget, there was just one director, who was he's a pretty well established director, conductor, director guy who was doing our band that year, and he has a book out, and it's a book that is like usually all the high schools buy it for like the rudiments, like for like bands and stuff, right? So he's pretty high up there. So he was being our director one year, for this one show, and dude, I've never had somebody make me feel like more like shit in my life about being a musician. But it's so crazy though, because I'm not gonna hold you. I also never learned more in a short amount of time from somebody, and it was like so toxic though. There has to be another way, because I remember him treating the whole band like shit in every rehearsal. And I'll never forget, like, we had a first chair trumpet, and for all of you band people, for all you non-band people, you basically are ranked on how good you play, I guess, whatever. It's really how good you do on the audition, whether you're first, second, third place, like trumpet, right? And it depends on like the difficulty of the part. Usually the more difficult part is like the first chairs, and then the first chairs also get like first dibs on solos. So
if you're that kind of director.
yeah, if you're that kind of director. So you had a trumpet one who had a solo, and one practice, dude, like this kid, we were kids, yo, kept cracking his solo. And I was like, damn, like that sucks. And instead of to be like, yo, just give a 3-minute like recess, like get your shit together, you know what I mean? Like he just stops everybody and he's like, all right, trumpet one, since you don't want to practice, I guess you want to waste everybody's time and practice in front of the whole band. So we're just gonna have you play the solo until you get it right. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And he's like, oh, okay, you want to keep wasting our time. So we have about 5 minutes till break. I guess you want to make everybody hear you mess up for the next 5 minutes. I guess we'll keep going. Ready? 1, 2. Dude, this kid got up, cried, and left. And then the band director was just like, if you can't handle the pressure, don't be here.
Yeah, I mean that right there. I mean, I don't think there's anyone out there that would argue that that's acceptable.
Terrible. It's terrible. And this is stuff like I've seen and experienced like a lot, and I don't know if maybe I just had a really shitty experience, but like I see it like in a lot of places like still like, and I remember even doing public bands and doing they'd have like an orchestra come together and just like really like they were nice people, players, a lot of nice beautiful people. I'm not gonna lie, the majority of everybody who I met in this space were beautiful people.
Yeah.
But it's wild how the people who were really in charge, like on the top of the line, were kind of garbage people. And a lot of them, like, it really made me fall in love with music. I'm sorry, I went into this huge tangent, but I felt like
you're good, bro. You got to speak up for the people who've been wronged by these people.
Yeah, dude.
Like music, yeah, okay, fine. We can argue that it's supposed to be this perfect thing, and oh, you got to be hard on these kids to you snap them out of it. Like I've never seen someone respond better than to encouragement and love.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it in anything really.
Oh, yeah.
like the people who support me in what I do now. Like that's what drives me. That's what makes me want to like be here in this chair with you and to make content and to make music and to do this whole thing. So like that concept has to apply to these kids. Like I think what would have helped me out a lot in high school and like as a kid in general was having something that showed me my confidence and showed me my ability to be confident and to be willing to do something and be a part of it.
That's a really good point.
Rather than just trying to find something to occupy my time and it's either, like you said, just not good, toxic in that way, or it's just, like not what you want to do. But I'm telling you, like if there was something, and band did help a lot with my confidence in high school. But, I will say, I think that mentality, even at that time too, I think it's starting to change, but it was very like, like you're wasting everyone's time. Like the connotations were more negative than I think I was going to respond to. Yeah. And like I said, maybe it works for other people. Mm-hmm. Fine. But I mean, as far as I view it, I think it's more detrimental.
Yeah.
And as I kind of went through college, I kind of learned that about myself is that I don't respond to that kind of teaching. I don't respond to the tear down to build you up sort of thing. Again, I totally respect that method for the people who respond to it, because people again may take that and use it as fuel, and maybe that's what that educator or teacher wants. But I don't agree with it, and that's where I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, dude. I think we could leave it there. Yeah, because I could go on about this. So basically, we need to come back and have a podcast just about
the ethics of teaching,
marching band, and ethics of teaching. Because I could go off about that, and it's crazy.
And coming back around to what you said to kind of finish out the college thing, is my epiphany was more like my second to last year. So I did 5 years because I could not do it in 4. The education department was like, here's how to do it in 4, which basically means you have no life. And I didn't want to do that. Like, I still had to work, I still had to support myself. So I did it in 5, and like my 4th junior year, I guess you want to call it. That's when I had the epiphany. That's when I started to student teach. And that's when I really got to the point of what you said, which is like, I am just not that kind of person. I do not vibe with the ways that schools are run in a lot of instances. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of districts that are good and have like supportive administration. Shout out to you guys. But being a band director in a public school, in most cases, is very difficult and very, very time consuming. And if you're not Mr. Personality and can weave your way, it's very cliquey, like you said. Administration can sometimes be absolutely ridiculous, and you're wasting all this time and energy on that instead of your kids, right? And that's the whole reason I would be there. And so I just happened to be in some schools that didn't have the best representation of what like a good school should be, and the way that like the relationships between the teachers and the administration were. It was clear that this promotion of the well-being of all kids' confidence and ability, whether it's sports or, I mean, a lot of the times schools try to enhance people who play sports and do those things. Band kind of gets pushed to the side. Like, I just can't deal with that. Like, I cannot deal with that mental anguish and just all that stress that comes with having to try to run your program the way you want and try to change these kids' lives while dealing with just all the bullshit of these school systems, the politics, like you had said, and all this stuff. And like, it's just not who I am, right? My wife, I love her to death. She is a born bona fide teacher. Like, her joy and her drive comes from being able to make changes in these kids' lives and to teach and to deal with that stuff.
And shout out to all the all the teachers out there who are actually like,
who are underpaid and are doing above and beyond.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Above and beyond. Because y'all really deserve the world. And, there's too many people out there where I see, like, it breaks my heart when people are like, I hated high school. Like, I never had a good teacher. You know what I mean? Or they're like, I don't want to go to school because every teacher's a bad teacher. And it's those kids who I'm just like, yo, you've never had a good teacher before. Yeah. And it shows. And I'm so sorry, because when you have a teacher who is able to impact your life and not only touch like your mind, but touch your heart, it's something that's indescribable. And I think it's like, what do you say? It's priceless.
Priceless. Yeah.
It's absolutely priceless. Because, like I said, I wouldn't be here where I am today with some teachers in my life.
100%.
For sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were teachers, especially in high school, where I was like, you are doing nothing for me. Like, you are a detriment to my life.
Yeah.
But like, to the teachers who do, man, shout out y'all, bro. Because y'all really changing people's lives out here. So damn. Sorry, interrupted you. Your wife.
So my wife, she just finished. She's actually just about to graduate college and get her teaching degree. So she just student taught at her school, and they loved her. Like the school just is a good school in general, but she's just that kind of person. She gets along with everyone. She shows by actions, like she does, and people receive, like everything she does is for the kids, and people see that, and she's made such great friends. And I remember my student teaching experience, I wanted no part of it. You know what I mean? It was kind of interesting to see that kind of difference between the two of us. Yeah. And it just kind of made it a lot clearer that it really wasn't for me. If it was for me, I would have loved it. I probably would have been more engaged and a part of that. And, it was also the lesson of like, hey man, I got out of that. I graduated, but like, I knew I didn't want to do that before. I could have made a change. I could have been more confident in myself and how I was feeling to maybe change directions before I had to put myself through that. I learned a lot of stuff about being a teacher and what that goes, and I have a new appreciation, but it's not where I wanted to be, and I think that showed, and that's regrettable, because I don't want to ever half-ass something or not be totally into something that I'm doing because it's not fair to everyone else. You know what I mean? So my epiphany kind of was at that point where I just, it was too in front of my face to ignore. It was like, no, like, I'm not a teacher. Like, that's not who I am. I love helping people understand stuff. Like if people are working on something, I have no problem with like sitting down with them, discussing stuff, and maybe they learn something, maybe I don't, but it's just not me. So when I got out of college, that's when, I started to really just prioritize what I wanted to do, which meant that if I want to do music and I want to play in bands and make art and all that kind of stuff, I have to support myself. So I got to do something. So I went out and found work that supports me, and my wife supports me in what I do, and I'm able to have a really healthy balance of working my job, making the ends meet, and then using my time to pursue this, which is I'm the happiest I've ever been. Truly, I don't think I've ever been this happy.
That's beautiful to hear, man.
Yeah.
Congrats.
And I don't want to live in like regret. Like so many people before us, it's like that common tale. Like I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I'm not. Maybe that was the wrong order. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to live my life like that. Like I just, I had my son a couple of years ago, and I just realized how quickly life goes, to the point where now I'm a father, right? Like I was always the kid looking up to my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm the dad. Like what is my son going to think of me in 20 years, right? Am I going to be some old crabby teacher who never wanted to do the job in the first place, or am I going to be the dad that is loving and caring because he's in a space where he's mentally well and doing the stuff he wants to do? And it was very eye-opening in that respect, and it just solidified my pursuit of what I'm doing now. So that's post-college, and now we're here a couple years out, 2 years out. I think I graduated 2021, so we're
Wow. Yeah. We have been living life ever since.
not for too long
Not
yet,
for too.
but we're out here.
It does feel like a little bit long though, because
It does feel long ago. I will say.
I was thinking about it. This fall makes 10 years. 10 years since my first band camp.
So that would have been, what?
2012.
2012.
Summer of 2012. It's when my first band camp.
Dude, 2012 was such a different time.
Yeah, such a different time. Right, wild, right? But yeah, dude, that's wild. So we're here now.
We're here now.
You had mentioned a couple things when you were speaking. The balance between. So you did end up leaving with your teaching degree, though, right?
I did. I did my student teaching. I had to take Ed TPA, which I failed the first time. And I'm okay to admit that, because like that was also a pivotal moment, because from at that point, like we were all doing the teaching thing. They were like, no one's ever failed Ed TPA. No one, and I was just so done. Like by the end of the semester where we had to complete it, I just half-assed it so bad. Like I didn't follow directions. I just failed it. Right. And I remember getting like the email, like you do the test, and there's all these restrictions how often you could take it, and like if you fail it, you only have like 2 times to get it again. A lot of pressure. And I remember I scored like 10 points below what I was supposed to score.
Mm-hmm.
And like I just felt like a horse's ass. That was like probably the lowest point for me in like the last 5 years. And the reason for that is because, I'm doing all this stuff, and like basically I'm just looking at this receipt in like paper form that is basically just telling me how much I didn't try and how much I didn't apply myself. And I literally just like let it fly out the window, and I had like the physical evidence, and I was like, why did I do that? Like, why did I let myself do that? Like, I'm not like that. Like I'm a people pleaser. Like I'm a perfectionist. Like I wouldn't have let that happen. It was a lie. I was living a complete lie, and I was doing something I did not want to do, and I knew I didn't want to do, but I was doing anyway. And then I realized, well, the answer unfortunately can't be just because you're not doing something you love doesn't mean you can't, do it the right way and put effort into it. So after like 2 days of feeling like garbage, with the support of my wife and her kind of snapping me out of my misery, she's like, you're going to take it again and you're going to pass. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And that taught me an important lesson of just like, okay, fine. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do, and it sucked so bad, but unfortunately it was my own doing, and I can either not do Ed TPA and then just like get the degree and just say I have a degree in music and not achieve what I've literally spent 5 years working for. Or I can just come in clutch, do it, get the teaching degree, have it in the back pocket, and do it the right way. And so then I passed it. Obviously, I was elated, and she's like, "You passed," and I'm like, "I passed, but I'm not gonna teach." And I think if I honestly would have let it go, like if I decided to just keep the failing at TPA grade and I just like said, fuck it, I'm just going to take the degree, I feel like I probably would have regretted it. That probably would have been on my conscience because that's not who I am.
I feel that.
And, I'm kind of glad that I did because it does feel like an achievement to me. You know what I mean? Like, even though I'm not teaching, even though I'm not utilizing it, it's still, I did it.
Hey, dude,
put in the work and did it.
I get it. I get it too, man. Like, as soon as I graduated, I thought I was gonna be in studios, recording people, loving to mix and everything. And even though there's a lot of jobs in the sound engineering industry, a lot of different things you could do, I feel like right now I'm pursuing maybe the most random part.
Dude, I love your podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. And I think it's always like you gotta follow what's in your heart. I think that's the main takeaway from like this part of the conversation, where just like college
is what you make of it.
College is what you make.
And
of it.
I take full responsibility for my college experience. It's no one's fault other than myself. And that's a big thing I learned too, is just being accountable. Okay, I literally made the wrong decision. Like I spent 5 years and $40,000 doing the wrong thing willingly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
if something feels bad, you got to definitely feel like you got to make that decision. And it's wild too, because I'll never forget the reason I ended up switching. The only reason I ended up switching was actually because I've shouted out Dave Kersner in this podcast so much. So shout out Dave Kersner because he was the head of the engineering program at the time, and I'll never forget that I was panicking because just like you, my band director had impacted my life so much that I was like, I want to impact people's lives. Like he has absolutely changed my life.
I think you put it in perfect words there. Like I think that's exactly what I was trying to do too.
Yeah.
Is make an impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
And that was just so like in front of me as like a band thing, music educator, and I didn't look at it as broadly.
Yeah, and you know what? I couldn't think about leaving education because I felt like everybody would be disappointed in me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna disappoint my band director. I'm gonna disappoint my teachers, my private instructors. Like everybody thinks I've said I've wanted to be a music teacher since like I started playing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden here I am, and I'm just like, dude, like it was weird too because like I said, I had a lot of problem with the people inside of like concert band and all those other things.
Yeah.
When I met sound engineering people for the first time, I was like, oh, this is my crowd.
Yeah.
Like, these are my people. Like y'all are a bunch of weirdos. Like, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. Any musician is a fucking creep. You know what I mean? All right, I'm being OD now, but like, we're all weirdos. We're definitely all weirdos. But like, they're a different side of the weirdos that I felt more in tune with. So I was like, damn. And I remember talking to Kersner and just being like, dude, like this and this. I'm scared that everybody's gonna be disappointed in me. And he's like, do you want to do it? I was like, yeah. And he's like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty much that simple, dude. Like if you don't want to do something, and it's so crazy because even though it was so simple said, and I look back at it now, like it is simple, but at the same time it just isn't. At the same like it is
cliche as it is. Hindsight's 20/20, bro.
Hindsight is 20/20, man. But yeah. So why don't we talk about how now in life you are? So you said you're in a band, you're working full time to help like support, like pursuing the band thing as well. What are you doing? Like, what are your missions? What are your goals in music right now? Like, what are you up to?
Yeah, I've always been just someone who's always had like musical ideas in his head, and I've always been drawn to the idea of playing music and creating music just as a foundation. I was in a couple of just like here and there bands in high school. Like I always loved getting with people and playing, and that's what really spoke to me. So after college, I was either like, all right, I can do some sort of like 9 to 5 for the rest of my life and just like kind of be like that person who like plays on the weekends, like soups up their basement and like has friends over and like jams on like a Friday night, right? And then I was like, well, I mean, I want to write and make stuff. And, I'm at this age now where, I can't really have this conversation or these choices in 30 years. So like, do I want to pursue this? And so with the whole music thing, what really kind of kicked it off was my first band, which we're still active, but we're in the middle of finishing a record. Friends Like Strangers which I started with a couple of friends of mine back in 2019, I think. Yeah, I would say that's around the time that it started. So a little bit towards the middle of my college career. And these are guys I actually had met up at Ramapo College. I had a friend that went up there, and I had met some of these guys up there. And dude, Ramapo College campus is like the best place to like go and hang out. Like,
Really?
it's just such a nice campus. Like, it's a little bit more woodsy, like kind of like Willie P, but it's like not as mountainous, and it's a nice campus. So I spent a lot of time up there, and we did like an EP, like kind of just like we're all musicians, let's get together and like let's just like go open, Logic or Ableton, and let's just like try to make a record. And so it was me, my friend Rob, my friend Tristan, and our friend Nick. And we did this EP really quick and all ourselves DIY, and it was really exhilarating. It by standards of like professional things, it was just like not great. The music was good. I thought we wrote some pretty cool music. And that really like made me hungry because I had finally like created something, like a part of something. Like it was my first record that I like played on full through, like that I was a part of, that I tracked for, and I learned so much. Like I realized, I need to get my bass set up. I need to like take care of my instruments so it sounds the best on a record, and it could have sounded better, and I just learned all these things. So once we did that, we went back in and we started the record we're actually working on now. And in that process, when we released the first record, the pandemic happened. We released that record pretty much, I think, the October of the pandemic. So we were just like all isolated. The band kind of stalled because we didn't have the opportunity to really play live. We released this EP and we couldn't do anything. We just like released it and then just started working on the next thing. And so that kind of led to me eventually getting to that point where, I liked like making music, like behind the scenes, but I also love to perform. And this kind of comes back to like the whole Cabs thing, where like that's where I really discovered my love of performing, because it's just something else, man. Like you go to a concert, anybody, like it doesn't matter the artist, if you care about that artist and you go see them live and they put it out for you, it is otherworldly. Like the experience you have and just the feelings you have are just immeasurable. And I've been to some great concerts in my life, and I've always really, really enjoyed them. And not only just like the show, but like it's the music itself. Like I connect with it, and it's so great. And so I got to that point where I just really wanted to start playing. And I haven't spoken publicly about it, but the band kind of went through some pretty big turmoil during the recording of this record.
Of this one that you're working now?
Of the one we're working on now.
Okay.
Our drummer, he left the band for personal reasons, just because like his life was really busy and with school and stuff. And then another member had left for other reasons. So we put out an EP, discovered we really liked it. It was a pandemic, got out of the pandemic, and things kind of blew up. So we're still working on that record. The record's still going to come out in the summer. But what was happening was, because we were kind of handicapped in members, we weren't really able to play. We weren't able to go out and play live. We're a super young green band that, I can't just go on Instagram or just like hit up a guitarist and be like, hey, you go play with us. Cause like the music is a little more complicated. And we don't have that presence. We don't have that notoriety. So it's been hard in that respect. So I'm not playing. So come last year, a little over a year ago, it happens to be that the opportunity for me to join Spitshine comes across my lap.
Shout out Spitshine.
Shout out Spitshine.
Shout out Oreo.
So I'm in two bands right now, and Spitshine was really a blessing in disguise. And I don't mean like there's anything bad about the initial like joining of the band, but I didn't really truly understand how important the band was going to be to me at this point, like right now in the present at the time. I was still like, even like a year ago, really in my infancy of like being out in public and being like what we call a creator. I'm not like I'm not posting on Instagram every day or YouTube every day, because I think social media is a little not great, but it's an essential evil for that kind of thing. So I deal with it. But, I was really looking to play. I was really looking to get out and to connect with people, because like college, the only people I really connected with were like the brothers. I'm sure you've talked about Phi Mu Alpha before in the podcast. And then other than that, it was just school, work. Like I didn't have any other connections, and the band, of course, like those group of people. So the fact that it was just kind of like the group of people, college ended, the pandemic, like I just wasn't getting out and playing and meeting new people, right? Like I want to meet people from everywhere. I want to know people. I want to talk to them. I want to learn their story and reconnect with people I know that maybe I didn't get the chance to do that in college. And I want to do all these things. And so joining in that band, who was more active in playing and being a part of that group now, has just been an absolute blessing. I've met so many great people through that group, just bands and even just friends of that group that have now become good friends of mine. And it just really found my home. And it's been such this last year, like I didn't really know what to expect joining the band. You know, they had just come off losing their previous bassist.
And this is Spitshine.
Spitshine, yeah. They had just lost their previous bassist, and like, you know, when you lose a member, it's just hard, you know, like. So the fact that like I was available and around, like it just kind of was meant to be. And we've been together for a year, and we've been playing shows and we've been writing new music.
Yeah,
like,
y'all been doing a lot of shows, dude.
Yeah.
So question.
Yeah.
Because let's get real. Everybody says like they want to make it. I feel like this is a very difficult. It's very difficult. Like, those are definitely a difficult word to like define, because I feel like make it is so subjective.
Right.
For me, I feel like there are people who need to understand that when you're in this music game, and I always call it the music game, whatever the fuck.
It is a game, man.
But whenever you're in the music game, like it's very noble and honorable for you to also just be like a band who's doing shows and like, you know, making whatever cash you make it and doing it. Like, that's great. Like, spreading music, I still apply what I believe, where it's like, if you're affecting the life of one person, it's worth it, you know?
Yeah.
And if you enjoy doing it, then it's worth it even more.
Yeah.
Even if it's the one person you're doing it for is for yourself, that is more than enough. That is more than enough, because you're more than enough, right?
Yeah.
So what is like the vibes for where the direction is going? Like, are you doing this for fun? Are you doing this as like, and it could be like for fun, but like full-time fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a beautiful thing. Like, it's not like I'm talking bad or anything. It's like, I think that's fucking great, because if I could be in a band right now, or if I could sing in a choir right now full-time,
dude, right? I miss
that
choir.
would be crazy.
I
I miss choir like crazy.
Choir was actually underrated.
Yeah.
Like maybe the rehearsals were a little like, you know, you get but like when you're like in a church or something, like, and you're just like with a bunch of people and it's like hitting you, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, because I've been looking into like joining a gospel choir. I really want to join a gospel choir, but going all the way to the city to go to like one of their gospel choirs.
I do it.
I want to do it, but I'm just like, damn, time commitment
I know,
and stuff.
That's
but back to Spitshine, like what is your guys' vibe? Like, are you trying to get signed? I know, because the music that you guys are making, right, too, I rock with it. I do rock with it. It brings back like my emo, like, you know, like Blink. I'd say like a mixture of like Blink 182 and like, because the voices there too are just like so.
Yeah,
it's that time period, you know. It gives me
totally. I like to call us emo punk.
Yeah.
We have the beautiful thing about Spitshine is really the people. There have been people in the band in the past and have put their staple on it in different ways, and the songs that are out right now, I'm not on. I haven't played a single note of anything that you've heard yet, and which is cool for me, honestly, because like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm like Spitshine's biggest fan. I happen to be in the band, but as far as like their music's concerned, I love them. And I actually saw Spitshine inadvertently when they first started, back when I think I was a freshman in college. And Ori, who was on the pod, I don't know, a year ago, maybe even a little less, he was in our fraternity, and when I came in, he was like pretty much on his way out. And that's how I knew him. And I just happened to get on a show with an old band that I was with at Boon Tunes right here down the street, who's no longer there, rest in peace. And I happened to see them one day, and they were the best band there. Like they were clearly like levels above the rest even at that time, and they were infants like as far as the band was concerned.
Yeah. Because there's such a heart and passion there. Like
Yeah.
even having Orion,
Yeah.
like I like the way he talked about it, and like, you know,
Super
like,
passionate.
just super passionate about it, and that's beautiful. I think that's the most important part. But please continue.
Yeah, and it's one of the big reasons why I want to be a part of the group is everyone is passionate and everyone just wants to be as in it and vulnerable as possible. Yeah, and so I saw them, and then it just happens to be a couple years later I joined. But yeah, our direction is really like, I was gonna basically answer that first question you had by saying like, yeah, I'm in this for fun. And what's fun for me is making music and putting on shows and just connecting with people. Like, I'm not even looking at this as like it is a grind, but I'm not like saying like this is like, oh, like work and like this is like such a whole big thing. I tend to think that overcomplicating things like that is a lot of people's downfalls, because there's so many intricacies. You have social media in front of you. You have all these things that you're going to try to do to boost your engagement and do this and this and that. And that's great. You know, people do that and they get successful in certain aspects, and you get your views and you get your likes. But I don't want to be that kind of band. If the band's going to get big, it's going to be because we're putting something out there that people are connecting with, and we're reinforcing that by being able to connect with them in person. And it's that simple. And it's my mission to always, like, when I play or write, like, I want people to be able to listen to it and then just downright enjoy it. Like, it doesn't have to be that deep, like you said. It's that simple. So that requires me to be on my game and to be conscious of what I'm doing. And it's the same for those other people. And I've listened to God knows how many music podcasts of like artists that I respect, and they all say the same thing. Like, if you're with the homies and you're playing to a room of two people, and this is again another anecdote you were talking about earlier, if you're playing to those two people and you can change their lives or just even simply make a connection with them while you're playing, and you just happen to care about your craft and you're good, the people will come. And it's long term. Like people, I think, also miss that too with this stuff.
It's a game. It's
a game.
It's
a long term game, and people can sometimes get discouraged in the short term with this stuff. Like, you're not gonna start, and especially in our case, because we're a whole new era. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the band's starting at ground zero again, because me and Emily, I feel, add so much to the sound. And if you haven't seen the band live, like, it's hard to explain because we don't have music out together, but we're a totally different band live. We're levels ahead, I think, of where the band was before we joined. And that's not to be egotistical. It's just to be truthful and say that I believe in what we're doing. And what we're trying to do is, again, play shows, make connections, and have something for people to enjoy. And it's as simple as that. And if those opportunities come where more and more people come to our show and then go to their friend and go like, you know what, like, that Spitshine energy is crazy, and like the songs are actually like really hype, like that's all we need,
Yeah, dude.
So my perspective is not to think too hard about it. I feel like sometimes it's a little cringe when bands or artists go like mega super hard on something, because there's like a level of genuineness that kind of gets lost, I think, when like you see all this stuff and it's just like so hard pushed and like it's on social media all the time. Like, yeah, you're trying to push it, I know, but like I'm not trying to see it, I'm trying to feel it.
Yeah, there's a couple things to kind of break down there. Number one, the first one being, shout out to all the members of Spitshine. So it's you.
It's me, Emily, Ori, and Kyle.
Okay,
yeah.
But it's just the four main of you right now.
It's the four of us. That's it.
I bet. Because, matter of fact, I've never gotten the chance to meet you. I've met Emily before because she went to Willie P.
We were all Willie P. Just at different
time periods. Yep. She's very talented. I have seen her rock. I think she was actually playing bass for a little bit for Spitshine at first. Yeah, I remember that because Ori was telling me.
She was supposed to join the band as it was now, where like the original bass player Grady, he was supposed to stay before he got sent out to California, and she was supposed to be like what she is now.
Yes.
And then that he got sent out, and then that's what it was. But Emily is an astounding guitarist. She's an incredible writer too.
Big shouts out to Emily because like I
Big
said,
shout.
I've seen her around. I just haven't been able to connect like that yet.
Yeah.
So, but I have to definitely come see a Spit Shine show too.
Yeah,
man.
we're
For
off
sure.
for the next what is it, May now? So we don't have anything in June, but we're coming back end of July. We have 2 pretty big shows. One we're doing on July 28th with a band called Secret Gardens from Long Island. They're absolutely incredible. They're an instrumental band that they're like emo based, but they're just so they've been on the radar a little longer than us and are just such cool people. And we met at a show in passing and we just making that happen. But come out around that time if you're available.
That's dope.
But yeah, speaking of Emily, she's awesome, and really everyone in the band, like everyone, just again just cares so much about the project and just really gives their all. Everyone's super talented, and that's really step 1. Step 2 is executing that and making it happen.
So, question.
Yeah,
Because I gotta ask.
yeah,
I gotta ask for the people who are like, all right, you have your day job and you're making that and you're playing these shows and you're affecting the lives of people, yada yada yada, right?
yeah.
Is there any monetary gain from doing these shows at all? Like, do you make anything at all?
No.
Or like, no?
No, absolutely not. I mean, and if we do, it kind of like comes back to the band account and gets, spent on more merch and stuff like that.
More merch or like, sessions, stuff like that?
Here's a secret. It's not profitable. Okay? It's not profitable unless you get really big. And that's the truth. And I don't want that to be discouraging, because if you're looking at it from that perspective, you're not going to make genuine content. It's just it's the correlation. The drive to eventually get yourself to that spot is cool in my opinion, but if you're trying to do it to make like bank, I don't know. It's not going to work out the way you want, because you know what? People are not idiots. I know people. Sometimes people are grouped into statistics and our numbers and how many people are doing this and how many people are doing that. How many followers would I get? What's the percentage? But in reality, like when I'm on social media and when you're on social media, like you're gonna come across something that's going to speak to you as genuine, and you're gonna fuck with it. And that's more or less what this is all about. And the monetary and the money comes later, and that comes from being genuine and being a group that is doing what they're doing and is doing what they want, and people are responding and they're making those connections. And if it just happens to get to a point where they're making some money from it, it just kind of happens gradually, and you can't predict it, you can't explain it. But if you're in it for the money, it's very hard to scratch that itch, because there's no profit. There really is none.
Yeah, and I would even say, like, if you're just trying to like have fun, play shows and get crowds going, yeah, there's probably not a lot of money there.
No.
And if there is, it's literally enough money to keep y'all going, like paying for the gas, maybe for the van you take there, or even putting into another session. But it's a labor of love that is definitely, like, even if you're making money, you're still probably spending more money like doing shit, and just because it's something that you do with love, with passion and stuff. And talking about all the social media stuff that you have to do and blah 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 blah, this and that, like, unless you're like making hella merch and like you're putting yourself out there and putting in like the work of social media, which is so difficult, so hard.
And it that's where it also, like, my thing with social media is, like, if it's going to be effective, like, that has to be genuine too.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. Not saying that like you or I aren't genuine, but to get in front of a camera, which is a camera, and which like it's for content purposes, it's hard to sometimes break that illusion. And I think you do a great job. I mean, again, the podcast is popping, and the presentation is great, and you work so hard on it. That's where the genuineness comes from.
Yeah, you know what? I think actually funny that you bring that up, because I feel like I think longer form content like podcasts are super easy to be real, because like I said, I don't cut any of this out.
Right.
You see me thinking, you see when I need a second to think before I say something, so I'm saying it how I want it to come out. But I feel like sometimes the shorter form content that people are making, it's hard to come off as more genuine because you're trying to make it as short as possible, or you're giving the parameters of 1 minute. And in 1 minute, you're not going to get every single point off that you want to,
Right.
that you're trying to promote. So it's kind of like you have to settle for less, but also know that that's the impact you want. I need to give an example because I'm not doing a good job right now.
No, I kind of pick up what you're saying.
Like for example, if I'm telling a musician to follow their dreams and I have 30 seconds to a minute to talk about a musician following your dreams, I could easily say, dude, if you don't love it, just put everything down and follow your dreams. And then boom, I say that in like somehow it's inspirational minute.
Right.
And then a lot of people might argue, oh, that's not genuine because, you're not telling them that there's also rough parts and this and that. And
Yeah.
that it's so much more complicated than that. And I was like, all right, well then I'll make another one that's also like 30 seconds to a minute talking about it's also rough and stuff, but you're not going to get everything in one take. So I think sometimes people look at the stuff that you post and they might think that you're trying to be ingenuine or you're not putting enough stuff out, but sometimes that's just how it is. You have to take things at face value, because that's really what a lot of some of these contents are. It's face value stuff. It's not meant to be thought super deep, because the next day I'm going to make something else that applies to something completely different. And I think that's the biggest part where I've kind of been trying to find the balance of, because it's very easy to come off fake. It's very easy to come off fake. It's hard to come off real. And I think the only way to come off real is to be more creative in the way of how you're trying to approach it.
Right.
And the only way you become more creative is by posting more. So it's not like it's hard. It's an uphill mountain. There's no other way. Every single direction you take into social media is an uphill. Yeah. And I think just now it's like I might be getting more engagement with my audience now because I've kind of branched out into some different stuff now. Where I'm not just posting a podcast clips, but like I did a photo shoot the other day. Yeah. And I posted up that.
You do your songs of the day or songs of the week?
Songs of the day, songs of the week. I try here and there just to kind of give like everybody a more genuine, like open look. But it's definitely hard. The kind of just went on a tangent there, but like
no, totally. And the merit to that is I think every single entity in that space, so it's like Ayoo Chill or Spitshine, it's all specific to that entity as far as what is going to work or not work with social media, which is why it's so hard. I know. I saw the. I'm like. So, like, with that being said, for bands and what I've kind of gotten from people in the industry that I've met or that I've just like seen from other bands and what they do is, when you're like kind of like a singular entity, it's a little bit more, I guess, what's a good word? It's a little bit more like in front of you as far as like what you can do with like yourself. Like, you are the podcast, right? Like, you are known for this. So like you have so many opportunities to expand and to reach people and do as you're doing, like you just said. As a band, it's a little different, I think, because what we're trying to do is kind of produce, I don't want to say perspective, but we're trying to produce, I guess the simplest term is like an image, right? And like, not the image of like 4 people in like 80s clothing, like posing for a picture, but like just like this identity and this image that is centered around quality, right? We're trying to be more conscious of what we post and making sure that what we post is like pleasurable to view. Our lacking is really like kind of where social media is right now, where it's short form content and all these trends that people are hopping on. We choose not to do that on purpose because we really think that the essence of what is going to make us successful is going to be in person. And I notice it with just like, let's talk about Taylor Swift for a minute. She's killing it. And I know like that's a really big thing out there right now. And she's releasing all her records all over again, Taylor's version, and I absolutely applaud her for that because, the songs have already been written, but she's legitimately re-recording everything. She's going through these sessions all over again, and that's great. But the main difference is that when she comes and she does her shows, those fans and those people who are at her shows are so moved and emotionally influenced and just like in awe of her because they're in the presence of this person. They are experiencing this person in a way that not a lot of people get to experience. They experience them through the phone, they experience them through their ears or whatever. And when she plays these shows, she's making the most important connection anyone can make. And it's playing these shows live. She's looking at people. She's waving at people. She brings her mom and dad go around the stadium and invite people to like what they call rep room. Like they bring them backstage to meet her, and it's all personal. And then these people go to social media and kind of like reinvigorate themselves with the social media aspect after. And so I think the approach we're trying to take is to be more centric on getting out and playing shows and using the social media part as the assistive sort of like part where people can come experience us. Like they'll hear from their friends and maybe they'll see us on social media. They're going to come, hopefully enjoy it and make the connection with us. And that's where we're going to try to build that sort of ascension. And it's hard for a band because we could easily just like hop on TikTok and do all the trends and stuff like that. But then that's like every other band on TikTok right now.
Yeah, you know, it's hard. It's hard because when you talk about image, man, dude, like when it comes to building an image, building a brand, building like whatever, like, you know, I feel like sometimes it's so hard because I think the only way to get better at social media, honestly, is to just put shit out and not think about it too hard.
See what works.
Yeah. Like if that's the image, like regardless of whatever image you want, like think about how you would put it out regardless, put it out, and then like it's weird because like in my sense, like it's also a business game, so I do care about numbers to a certain point.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I put something out, I'm really just thinking about, I look back at it, I'm like, does this represent me? Does this represent, did I get the emotion off that I wanted to get off?
Right.
And more than ever recently with the stuff I've been putting up, like recently, like, you know, just these cool little videos creatively, I feel great about them. You know, I feel really good about them. And I look back to like 2 years ago where like, you know, of what I was posting then. And it's just like, dude, like we talked about on the podcast so much, there is a cringy phase that you go through of learning social media and learning your vibe and going with it, you know? And it's tough because, like I said, it's an uphill battle where you got to post. You know what I mean? Regardless of the image. Like I've been so mad sometimes with the quality of stuff that I've posted up, like just physical quality,
Totally.
not even just talking about like artistic whatever. But then some of those things that I posted up where I was like, oh my God, no one's going to like this because it's 1080p instead of 4K.
Yeah.
People love it. People love it because there's like, that's just so you. Like I could connect with this more. And it's a lot of times where I'm like, dude, it's never about sometimes the quality of the actual physical, like the physical quality, but like the emotional quality, what it's saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you guys had a rough day, like if I see a rough day and I see a band post up a picture like, oh, we had a rough set or whatever, and I'm seeing like a sweaty ass freaking iPhone picture where it's all kind of blurry and it's like we're fucked. I'm like, yo, that looks like they're fucked. You know what I mean? Not that they're just like crying in like 8K and I'm like, oh, I could see the tear. I was like, that's crazy, you know? I don't know. It's tough. It's very tough. But that's my biggest thing with like the image thing, because I think about, it probably runs through my mind every day when I'm looking at my Instagram. I'm just like, how do people look at me?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And more recently, I've started to get like a little bit like more reactions from people.
Yeah.
And like how they look at me, and then it's something that you think about, but it's something you just can't think about too much. You kind of just have to feel whatever you feel is right. You put it out, and that's how it goes. And then based on like, you could kind of take people's reactions with a hint of salt, because I've had some people's reactions where like they'll meet me for the first time and they've been watching the podcast, which is great. And this has only been happening recently for me, going to like shows where like there's people who I know, like have friends who've been on the podcast, and like, you know, some people come up to me and they're like, oh, like, hey, what's up, bro? I was like, I heard you like to create shit, and I'm like, yeah, I do. And then like literally this past week I went to a show and some guy came up to me. And it was the sweetest thing, but also made me feel super weird. I'm like, how can I make people feel like I'm more like a human and not just like some person on the internet? Which sometimes it's not a me thing; it's a people thing. Yeah, it's a person thing.
Yeah.
But I was sitting on a bench and I was smoking, and I was smoking with my friend. We were just chilling outside of the show, and we were about to leave. Guy walks up, he stops, and he's like, and I was like, what's up, dude? And then he's like, you're Ayoo, chill. And I was like, yeah. I was like, nice to meet you, dude. I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm meeting you. I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, like, I like, and I was like, yo, relax. Like,
I know.
you're
Yeah.
chilling, bro. I was like, come sit down. Like, you want to chill with us? And then he's like, he's like, no, it's just so great to meet you, blah, 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 this and that. I'm like, that's really nice. Like, it was very sweet and stuff.
Right.
But like,
and he's gonna remember that.
but like, for me, I was just like, dude, like, I don't want to look like part of my mind goes in like, I don't want to look like this, like, big. Like, I don't want people to feel that way. At the end of the day, you can't
You don't want people to
control
yeah.
what people feel.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be like, oh my god, like you're some guy who runs this cool podcast. Like, I'd rather just be like, hey, dude, like you rock with the community. Like,
Right.
that's so dope. Like, you know.
And that's the best you can do. Like,
Yeah.
you can either do that or just be like, get away from me, weirdo. And why would you do that, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of ties back into like my whole perspective on the band, because I'm the one taking care of a lot of the socials right now, just because we're a DIY band. We don't have a team,
Yeah,
and
dude,
we're trying to make it work.
tough.
And it's not just like me. Like, it's not my image, because it's the collective. So my job's a little different. Like, where I have to be in the mindset of what people see from like the collective perspective. Like, my social media, like my personal stuff, I tend to not care about too much, because that's not where like my priority lies, right? Like, I'm not like an artist trying to market myself. I'm a part of a collective trying to market itself. So the approach is a little different, but it's similar. Like, the content that we post, in terms of how we're approaching it, really just kind of comes from like the idea that what you're seeing and like what we're trying to post is something that's tangible for a human being to be a part of. So that means like posting good quality band pictures when we play a show, so we can capture the essence, capture the feeling that people mess with. High resolution photos from someone who knows what they're doing. And like go home, look at the Spitshine Instagram, and I want you all to look down in the past. And no shade to anyone who's done the social media in the past. No, totally
shade,
not.
no shade.
But it's just literally just being green. Like, you feel it out. Like, when I took over, just because like people had shifted around and things had happened, that was my main derogative, was to make the social media somewhere a person can go. Sometimes, okay, we want people to listen to our music and come to our page and connect with us that way, because not everyone lives in New Jersey, right? But I think the bread and butter for bands and artists is really to just get out and play as much as possible.
Yeah.
Wherever you can, and make it like it's the biggest show you ever played.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like the approach that you're talking about is kind of like the approach that I want to take too, where it's just like, I'd rather be with the people as much as I can, like doing shows, getting the podcast.
That's the realest
set up.
thing you can have.
Yeah,
it's
it's the most genuine thing, and it's wild. It's wild. I definitely feel that, because it's not until you're with somebody that you really feel something.
Yeah, because I mean, how many artists are out there right now that are pumping out great music? Like, there's a lot of amazing music out there right now, and it's easier than ever. People, there's so much to learn from as an artist right now. I mean, we have the internet. We are so lucky. Like, we can look at any point in time in any artist and study their whole career and see what was happening and what they were doing. And we're in a place now where there's just so much music coming out, and because people have this mindset of short form content and it all living on social media, like, there's just a lot of artists who are just pumping music, and it's just social media. Like, promote it, spend ad money, connect your music to a trend, try to do all this stuff. And back to that point I was saying before, where I feel like now that's kind of like the norm, and that's like almost not unique anymore.
Yeah.
Like, all these bands are doing the same thing now because it was working, because obviously the idea of having these TikToks and these sound effects and applying it to your band and making that connection, like, super cool. I love it. I love seeing that stuff, especially when it's funny. But then when my whole feed is filled with all these different bands trying to do the same thing, that, not against them, it just, I'm not going to pay attention to it.
Yeah, and it's not for nothing. I don't know. Well, I haven't like dove too. I've seen some of the videos that you guys have made for Spitshine and stuff. It's like, sometimes it's also just be yourself.
That's
if
exactly
you
what
feel
we're
like,
trying to do.
if you feel like TikTok trends aren't your thing,
Right.
and you don't want to do them, then don't.
Right.
I mean, there's a reason too why I haven't done it for Ayoo Chill. There's some TikTok trends where if I relate to it, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I was like, why not?
We almost jumped on that whole the Barbie trend, like, where people were doing like the portrait of Barbie, like replacing the I don't know, like I don't know how deep it went, but like we almost jumped on that, but I mean, we could. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I respect the grind in every aspect.
Things could change. Yeah,
Things can change.
Yeah, I think if anybody's taking your thing as like offensive, like,
Yeah. Please
wilding.
don't.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be that way. I respect the grind. Again, everyone is different. Every unit, entity, Spitshine, Ayoo Chill, it's completely different. The roadmaps and what you do is all unique. There's nothing you can copy. There's nothing you can try to replicate that's going to give you the same kind of react. It just doesn't work that way. The algorithm doesn't work that way, and you shouldn't work that way. Like, the genuinity should come from your content and what you do. There's a reason why people listen to a band, because they sound like that band.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to a point where hopefully one day people go, oh, that band sounds like Spitshine. And yeah, again, we can use social media to help us and get the exposure, but I'm just such a huge believer in the in-person. And that's why coming out of the pandemic, I was really itching to get out, because I just was, I missed basically 5 years of it. College, pandemic, I was hungry. And now that people are also in that position out of the pandemic, and people want to do stuff, people want to get back to it and go to places.
Jersey
you
and
know?
the East Coast is an interesting place. I feel like there's a low key music renaissance of sorts happening, and I've now, like, I've kind of solidified that feeling throughout these past couple years. I know that it's not just because I'm getting more into the scene, but I've seen the scene grow. Even like if it's like a small growth, I still see it. And 10 years from now, 15 years from now, like, I believe that like the music scene in Jersey is gonna be alive and healthy.
Yeah.
I won't say that maybe it's gonna be one of the top ones in the United States. That's obviously something that we want to strive for.
Yeah.
But like, I love seeing like the different places where everybody could perform. People show up to shows.
Yeah.
It's been great.
It's been going really well. I have to shout out Big and Tall Recording over in Woodridge.
Yeah, shout out Big and Tall. I haven't got the chance to meet y'all yet, really, but I know there's a couple of people there that I know, like, through connections and stuff.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because you mentioned like kind of like the scene resurgence.
Yes, because they've been doing their shows where they bring people in. Yeah,
I'm like a broken record, and for people who like know me and who see me often, like, I'm constantly ranting about it. I truly believe that place, and this is, I'm not trying to like overgas them or make them something they're not.
No, go, speak your truth.
But they are some of the kindest people. Gabe Valley and Tom McCormick, who run it, they are some of the most kindest, genuine people I've ever met, like, in that space. Like, they have this studio, and they open their doors to everyone, and they have all their shows are free. Like, there's not one show that they make people pay for. And like, I'm trying to get merch from them, and Gabe, the owner, gives it to me for free, and he's like, thank you for just like being a part of this and being here a part, like, all of this is for the betterment of like music in the scene. And their attitude is just so infectious and such in like the right mindset. And I can't tell you how many different bands I've seen there just in this last year and a half, and the acoustic shows, like all the different eclectic shows, like R&B, metal, emo, like, there's just so much happening there and so much music being recorded there. I got to hook you up with like the Big and Tall playlist. Maybe you can throw it in like the description or something, but it's just full of all these different artists that have come through Big and Tall and have made their staple. And I truly believe one of the biggest kind of scene resurgence areas right now is at that studio as it's happening.
I definitely have to check it out, because there's some shows there that I've seen. I haven't gone there in person, but like, social media posts, and like I see people there.
It gets full, man. People are like, we have not had a show there, and these includes shows that like I wasn't a part of, but like there have not been any shows that are like empty. Like, that place fills up, and the vibes are just always immaculate. There's not a bad show at that place. I've never seen a bad show. Like, I've never gone to that place like getting like some, people aren't turning their backs to you. People are like looking to hang and just talk and just connect. It's unbelievable. And I truly believe like that's a big epicenter, like maybe not the East Coast per se, but just North Jersey in general, man.
Yeah, no, for
Suburbs
sure.
of New York City, like we're popping out here.
There's a big resurgence I see of like studios and stuff,
Yeah.
Hence,
like
even here,
some great artists have come out of there. Like some of my personal favorites. Anise has recorded some stuff there. Melissa Cherie, Blue Vervain, a plethora more of bands that have come through there. Feed Me to the Forest, just incredible bands, Vertical Space. I can go on and on. I'm just trying to collect all these names, but it really is just such an awesome spot. So I couldn't come here without shouting them out a little bit as far as the scene goes, man.
For sure, dude, because I'm glad you did bring them up. We are coming pretty close to the end of the podcast.
Heck yeah.
But I wanted to open up the floor to you. If you felt like there was anything you didn't say, if there's any topics that we didn't get to, now would be the time to get to that before we start closing out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think the biggest topic that I just want to like speak on a little bit further is just for like people who may feel like I do or have felt like I have, you know, like I love to like go on YouTube, for example, and I love to watch like people cover songs. Like I love to watch people cover songs that I listen to or like, and I've just come to like find all of these amazing players. You know, like there are players that I've found, like bass, guitar, vocals, drums, that like absolutely 100% should be in a band or should be like a part of something like worth notable. And I'm like just like so kind of blown away by that. And I feel like if it were me and I were someone who didn't really want to go out and maybe I was too scared or I was too like reluctant to put myself out there, I would want someone like me to say, hey, you know what? Like you are a great player. Like you are so much better than you think you are. Go and reach out to some people and get something going. If you know a group of people who need a player and you're just thinking maybe I'm not good enough, go do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams. I don't want to take quotes directly from people, but you know, there's going to be a point where it's only reflective and you can't really do anything about it, and that's the reality of life. So while you're still in this position, do what you want to do. Do what you love. Don't let it go. There might be people in your life or circumstances in your life that make you feel that doesn't, you know, that can't happen. But it can happen. It's hard. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take some tears. It's going to take some growth. I'll leave it at that. But it's possible. I'm living it. And although I don't have 100,000 followers or I don't have sold out arena tours, I'm having fun. And maybe one day that fun turns into something bigger and more people can have fun with us. I don't know. But people just need to hear that because I believe in you. I don't know who you are. You're disembodied and you're a camera, but I believe in you 100%. So that's kind of what I wanted to say for those in that position. Because I was there. Like I was in my bedroom watching videos of people and just like being my own recluse and doing my own thing, not showing anyone, just being like, no one cares about what I do or say. It's not true. It's not true. So yeah, that's what I'll leave all y'all out with.
Dan, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast.
It's been a pleasure, Luis.
For real. I'm so glad that we finally got this together because it's been in the mix for a while.
Yes.
I'm kind of a hard person to reach sometimes.
All good, man. Me too.
I'm really glad this happened. It was really glad catching up with you, talking about what we talked about. We got to a lot of things today, from marching bands.
Pretty broad spectrum there.
Pretty broad
marching
spectrum.
Band, follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams. I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Let the people know where they can find you, social media,
Sure.
Any shout outs, anything you want to say.
Yep.
Now's the time to tell them.
Absolutely. You can find me at Dan C Plays Bass on all socials. Follow us on at Spitshine NYC on Instagram, at Friends Like Band for Friends Like Strangers. Shout out to my bandmates, Kyle Cook, Emily Case, Ori Yakutiel. Shout out to everyone we've worked with. Shout out to my boys and Friends Like Strangers, Tristan James and Trevor Trella. Shout out my parents. Shout out to all of my friends that support me and support everything that I do. I love you guys so much. I'll never take you for granted. Thanks for having me, Luis. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Guys, y'all already know the business. Ayoo Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you find your podcast, wherever you look at your podcast, you will find us there. We are New Jersey's podcast. Please like, comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. It helps support the podcast. It helps keep alive what I do because I do it for free. I don't charge anybody.
Legend.
Ayoo will always be free. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day wherever you are listening to this. And yeah, I think there's only one thing left to do. Just get out of here.
I'm out.
Bye, dude.